You probably have heard, like most of us have, the saying that half of all marriages end with divorce. Well, it turns out that may be some outdated information based on an analysis of marriage trends in recent years. In fact, in recent decades, the divorce rate has actually been falling, and now it's at a 50-year low. Amazing. So what can we draw from all of this? Well, I'm glad to have my next guest with me, Carter Skeel. He's the executive director at the Institute for Family Studies, which released this new research last week. Carter, welcome to Washington Watch. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Jody. It's great to be here, and thanks for showcasing this exciting and groundbreaking new research for those of us who care deeply about marriage and family. So yes, you're right. The idea that that marriage is essentially a coin toss, right? That your odds of being able to stay in a stable and secure marriage are about 50-50 is no longer correct. It's actually closer to 40%, which is, of course, still higher than we'd like it to be, but is in a much better position for those who are thinking about or entering into their first marriages.
Can you tell this, and I don't know if your study dealt with this at all, but the 50-50 thing for years always was a big question mark to me, because oftentimes we're even told that the church is no different from the world, that just as much divorce rate within the church as outside. I can tell you as a pastor for almost 30 years, that was not the situation in any of the churches I pastored. Our families, we did have some divorce, I mean, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, those families that had a relationship with the Lord stuck together. It was rare, let me put it that way, in our churches to see divorce. Is that a real accurate picture within the church?
Sure. So that was that particular analysis is beyond the scope of this survey, which is drawn mostly from analysis of national data. But we are looking to study precisely that perceived phenomenon, that as religious adherence grows, the likelihood of divorce goes down. So I do think anecdotally that's true. We're looking to back that up with some research in a forthcoming study.
Well, I look forward to you coming up with that. But what you've got already is just absolutely fascinating. So the picture that you're seeing now, the trends that you're seeing now, how does this compare to past decades?
Right. So specific to divorce rates, as we've discussed, it's down from 50% to 40%. We're also seeing positive trends in non-marital childbearing, which peaked at 41% in 2009 and now has leveled off. It's still at 40%. So a modest positive trend there. But if you also look at the share of children that are raised in married parent families, that bottomed out at 64% in 2012 and has since risen to 66%. So I think it's easy to look at those and say, okay, it's a couple percentage points, but it's also always useful to contextualize this and think of the thousands of families and tens of thousands of, in a lot of these cases, kids that are now raised in married parent families with a mother and father that love them and are biologically bonded to them. So we're obviously cautiously optimistic about these trend lines, but even to see trend lines like these level off and in some cases modestly reverse is huge news, and really the impetus for publishing the Why Marriage Survives account in The Atlantic last week.
So what's driving all of this, Carter? That's because whatever it is, we need to keep doing it. So what's behind all of this?
Right, of course, yeah. So there is a selection effect here. So the idea that marriage is becoming more selective, with the three big drivers being religious adherence, as we talked about, affluence. So as you go up the socioeconomic scale, the rate of marriage increases, and then education. So more educated people, are more likely to be married. So I think that's one story that should be told. I also think the idea of the quote unquote family revolution that drove a lot of the negative trend lines starting in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s is seeming to peter out. I mean, there's still on both especially the online right, but especially on the left, there's still criticism about the traditional family, and even the idea of having kind of a normative family structure at all. But at the same time, I think there's an element of not practicing what is being, not practicing what is being preached there, especially among the elite, who themselves are getting married and staying married and having kids, but then preach a very different gospel to the broader culture.
It's amazing. I was really encouraged with all of this too, that it appears the marriage comeback is strongest with black families, which is encouraging to see as well. So based on your research, we've just got about a minute. What advice would you give to churches to keep these trends going?
Right. I mean, there are positive network effects here of if you are in a community with high marriage rates, you're more likely to get married. Unfortunately, it's also, there's some correlation with divorce rates. So if you have a friend that gets divorced, you are then more likely to get divorced. So I really think, and this is part of our work at the Institute for Family Studies, disseminating this research as, if nothing else, an encouragement to young people or to parents or to these church congregations and communities that you can get married, that it's not a bad bet for young men and women to make.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Carter Skeel, Executive Director of the Institute for Family Studies. Awesome news. Thank you for bringing this information to light. Great news. Thanks for joining us on Washington Watch.